Sakura Software is a large multinational software firm headquartered in Japan. Its subsidiary in the United States has just completed a banner year. All sales goals were met or surpassed, and the subsidiary gained a larger share of the U.S. market. As a result, the annual sales conference was held at Disney World, a well-known resort in Orlando, Florida. The hundreds of U.S. salespeople who were invited to attend the conference were told, in spite of the initial objection of the Japanese management, that they could bring their spouses at the company's expense, and that they would have time to enjoy the sights and attractions of Orlando during the conference. To kick off the conference, a formal dinner was held at the hotel. In addition to the American Director of Sales, Kyle Jones, the Japanese President, Sakura Mitsuru, and his Japanese Vice President for Sales, Tabata Yoshio, were also scheduled to speak to the assembled employees. The audience at the dinner consisted of the U.S. salespeople and their spouses, along with a number of Japanese technical support personnel. The salespeople were all very excited, looking forward to celebrating their accomplishments. President Sakura gave a brief welcome. The president said that he was happy to see the employees at the annual conference, and that he looked forward to the next few days of planning for the new year. He spoke very little English, but the audience nonetheless appreciated his remarks. They applauded heartily. Next, Kyle Jones, the American Director of Sales, got up and introduced his boss, the Japanese Vice President for Sales, Tabata Yoshio. Jones had planned that he and the Vice President would give motivational speeches to kick off the conference. Tabata would speak briefly first, and then Jones would give a longer, more in-depth review of the past year. After Jones's introduction, Tabata stood up to speak. He was about 50 years old, and, although he had memorized his speech in English, gave the impression that he was reading slowly from a script. His posture was rigid, his face was stern, and his tone sounded accusatory. His intent was to demonstrate the serious nature of the occasion and to motivate the employees by his example. He made sustained eye contact with certain individuals in the audience for long periods of time, wanting to impress upon them the serious nature of his comments. Pausing after every word, with longer silences at the end of phrases and sentences, Tabata deliberately and painstakingly made his way through the speech without once smiling or changing his tone.
Greeting. Thank you for your hard work this fiscal year. We have broken many records, but we need to be careful to keep our fighting spirit. Our competition is working to defeat us very minute, and we must not let our guard down. We have done a good job, but do not allow yourself to celebrate. We have no time for that. You must prepare yourselves to work even harder this year. The company has invested a lot of money in manufacturing facilities. These facilities are now producing our product. It's your duty to sell these products as rapidly as you can. You must not fall. You must not fail. I hope you do a better job in the new fiscal year. Thank you.
The U.S. audience sat in silence during most of Tabata's speech. Near the end, they began whispering among themselves and shifting around uncomfortably. Tabata interpreted their behavior as showing excitement and agreement with his words. He felt proud of his ability to give an effective speech in a second language. In fact, they felt confused. When he finished, there was an awkward pause, followed by polite applause. As soon as the Japanese VP sat down, Jones stood up again. Though Jones was trying to maintain a professional demeanor, he unconsciously backed away from Tabata and gave him a look of exasperation. Jones had tried to convey to Tabata before the conference that the American audience needed motivation, not scolding, but apparently he hadn't listened. Typical. Jones then turned to the audience and with a pained smile said,
"Disregard everything he just said. We're here to celebrate your fantastic achievements this year, so give yourselves a hand."
A few people in the audience applauded lamely. Then Jones said,
"Enjoy your dinner, everyone."
and gave the signal to the hotel staff to begin serving dinner. He had decided to skip his speech because he felt Tabata had ruined the mood. He hoped dinner would help everyone forget the awkward and unpleasant speech. As the waiters began circulating amongst the crowd, agitated discussion broke out among the American salespeople and their spouses. What did Tabata's words and tone of voice mean? Was there a problem with the company they didn't know about? And wasn't Jones supposed to give a speech? What was going on? Sakura turned to Tabata and began to talk quietly in Japanese, while Kyle Jones, who was seated at the same table, sat silent, looking very uncomfortable. The Japanese president wanted to know why Jones hadn't given his speech. Since he spoke little English, he naturally asked his colleague Tabata in Japanese for an explanation. Tabata was baffled, and wondered if Jones was perhaps feeling ill. Even if he was, it seemed rude to have said disregard everything he just said, especially when the speaker was his boss. Jones, meanwhile, felt excluded and marginalized as the executive spoke in a language he didn't understand. He wondered if they were talking about firing him for insubordination, especially given the way they kept looking at him. These events at dinner cast a pall over the rest of the sales conference. The tension between Tabata and Jones escalated, and most of the U.S. salespeople seemed anxious and uncomfortable.